My daughter exposed an incredible truth at dinner: you belong here, but are you welcome? Sarah placed the last touch on her father's favorite baked chicken, hoping the familiar aroma would weave a warm blanket over the evening. Each year, this dinner was meant to be a celebration of her father's legacy, a moment to bond as a family, but with every passing year, the distance felt more like an ocean than a cozy living room. She adjusted her apron, her heart heavy yet hopeful. Tonight has to be different. It had to be. As Jake and Lily entered the dining room, her heart melted for just a second. Jake, on the brink of high school, rolled his eyes at his sister's over-the-top excitement. Lily, dressed against the chilly Ohio night, brought her youthful innocence and energy to the table. But as they sat, a palpable tension settled in, heavier than the mashed potatoes Sarah had just whipped up. The clinking of forks and the artificial laughter filled the silence, but beneath that facade lay heartbreak and longing. "Remember the time Grandpa took us camping?" Jake suddenly blurted out, trying to cut through the heaviness. Everyone chuckled, and Sarah's chest tightened. Memories were like fleeting stars amid a darkening sky. Lily, ever keen and observant, pierced through the joyous facade like a pin through a balloon. "Mom, you say we belong here, but do we really feel welcome?" Her voice sat heavy in the air, and for a moment, the clattering of cutlery ceased. All eyes fell on Sarah, who felt a rush of warmth and shame. With tears glossing her eyes, she shared her struggles, facing bills and self-doubt oh so familiar to single moms. "It's tough sometimes," Sarah whispered, "but I want you to chase your dreams, no matter what people say." Her words were steeped in grit and resilience, a testament to the very values her father instilled in her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Their eyes met, and for the first time in years, it felt like they were actually seeing one another. The conversation spun into the kindness of their neighbors' little gestures of support that kept them afloat. Laughter mingled with sighs, revealing a tapestry of shared struggles and small victories. They realized belonging wasn't about merely being present, it was about hearts open wide to embrace one another. As the meal came to an end, warmth filled the once cold air. They made a pact, a commitment to foster inclusion in their home and community. Just when Sarah felt a glimmer of hope, a sudden knock at the door sent a ripple of anticipation through their hearts. Who could it be? Would this unexpected interruption challenge their newfound resolve or lead them to a deeper understanding of what it truly means to belong? The knocking echoed through the dining room, a stark contrast to the comfort they had just created at the table. Sarah's heart raced, a mix of curiosity and dread swelling in her chest. She exchanged nervous glances with Jake and Lily, both of whom wore identical expressions of uncertainty. It felt as if the very walls would speak, unraveling the frayed emotions woven through the evening's earlier conversations. "Mom, are you going to get that?" Jake finally asked, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, yet the unease lurked just beneath the surface. Sarah nodded, swallowing hard as she pushed back her chair. She glanced at her children, their eyes reflecting the same flickering flame of hope that she wrestled with inside. Whatever lay behind that door, they would face it together. As she turned the handle, a wave of cool, crisp air rushed over her, carrying a hint of autumn leaves. The door creaked open to reveal a figure wrapped in a cozy, bright orange scarf. Surprise! It was her old friend Mia, standing on the threshold with a basket in hand. "I thought I'd drop by and bring some homemade apple pie." Sarah's tension melted away, replaced by an almost overwhelming wave of relief. "Mia! You scared me." She stepped aside to let her friend in, the familiar warmth of their friendship lighting up the room. Mia smiled, a comforting presence that seemed to weave effortlessly into the evening. "I could sense the good vibes from outside. And hey, the smell's got my old heart racing." With that, she set the pie down on the table amid the remnants of dinner and began to slice it up. While Mia chatted about local gossip and updates, Sarah felt her children's eyes on her, curiosity mingled with a desire for connection. The conversation shifted from light banter to deeper discussions, and Lily glanced at her mom. "Do you think our neighbor knows that he belongs here too?" she asked, looking at Sarah with wide, questioning eyes. Mia paused mid-slice, intrigued. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Lily leaned forward. "Sometimes, it feels like he's lonely. Like he's here, but not really a part of things." The room grew still as her words sank in. Sarah's heart fluttered with pride. Lily had touched upon a truth many adults might overlook: the importance of acknowledging those on the periphery. "You're right, Lily," Sarah replied softly, "but it's up to us to make sure he feels welcomed. After all, we're all in this life thing together." A silence fell upon them, filled not with discomfort but reflection. The apple pie's sweet scent perfumed the air, inviting warmth once more. Mia cleared her throat, a glint of inspiration in her eyes. "Why don't we do something special this weekend? A community dinner? We could invite everyone, bring dishes, share stories. Make sure that nobody feels left out," she suggested. Jake perked up, a grin spreading across his face. "That would be awesome. Like a big family reunion but for everyone." The warmth of possibilities enveloped them. Each moment began to hum with potential, the kind of hope that sparks revolutions in ordinary lives. Sarah felt her heart swell again, though this time with uncontainable joy. "Let us do it. Let us bring everyone together." As laughter erupted, the night blossomed into plans filled with enthusiasm, yet a lingering thought teased Sarah: not everyone viewed things the same way. But as excitement filled the room, her heart danced with a new rhythm of belonging. Then, just as hope surged, a shadow fell across the doorway, crashing the jubilant moment. A stranger lingered, unease dripping from their presence, waiting to intrude on the joy they had just reignited. What would this visit uncover? Sarah's pulse quickened again, this time not from happiness but from the sudden chill that filled the room. The stranger loomed at the threshold, their face partially obscured by the dimming light. Sarah squinted, her heart pounding. The atmosphere, once buoyant with laughter and plans, now felt heavy and thick. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice steady but betraying the tension within. The stranger shifted slightly, allowing a sliver of moonlight to catch their features. It was a man, his expression unreadable, eyes flickering with uncertainty. "I am sorry to disturb you. I live next door." Sarah felt a small spark of recognition. It was Mr. Hargrove, the reclusive man who had moved into the neighborhood several months ago. He seldom ventured outside, and Sarah barely knew him beyond a few polite nods during casual encounters. "Mr. Hargrove," she said softly, almost surprised. "What brings you here?" He hesitated, glancing around the warm, inviting space filled with memories of laughter and love. "I saw lights on, and I don't know. It felt like there was something happening." His voice trailed off. Mia, ever the empath, stepped forward, her cheerful tone slicing through the tension. "You're welcome to join us. We're actually planning a community dinner this weekend. It would be great to have you there." For a moment, Mr. Hargrove seemed taken aback, caught off guard by the unexpected invitation. His gaze flickered from Mia to Sarah and then to the children, who were watching with wide, hopeful eyes. "I don't want to intrude," he replied, his voice thin. "Not an intrusion," Sarah said firmly, feeling her heart reach out to him. "This is about all of us coming together. Everyone belongs." Silence fell again, heavy with the weight of her words. Mr. Hargrove shifted on his feet, casting a wary glance at the smiling faces within the dining room. "I'm not sure I'm up for a lot of people," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's been a while since I'm not good at being around folks." "Neither are a lot of us," Jake chimed in, his youthful optimism piercing the tension. "But we're trying to change that." A faint smile tugged at Mr. Hargrove's lips, but it was quickly overshadowed by a wave of vulnerability. "Why would you want me there?" "Because everyone has a place," Lily answered, her voice confident and sweet. "Just like you took a chance to come here. It's time for us to take a chance on you." For a brief moment, Mr. Hargrove's stoic expression cracked. Sarah caught a glimpse of the fear mingled with longing in his eyes. It made her ache for him, for all the times he likely felt alone. As the warmth in the room enveloped him, she could see the tiniest hint of resolve starting to form. But before anything further could manifest, a sudden noise jolted them, the unmistakable sound of a phone ringing, slicing through the quiet. "Excuse me," Sarah said, breaking the spell. As she turned to grab her phone from the countertop, she felt the tension weave back into the space. When she returned, she saw Mr. Hargrove standing in the very spot he'd entered, looking both hesitant and hopeful. Maybe this was a new beginning, one that could weave Mr. Hargrove into their community fabric. As they resumed light-hearted banter over pie and shared laughter, Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. She couldn't shake off the feeling that Mr. Hargrove's visit was more than just coincidence. It was a sign that every stranger deserves a chance to belong. What stories might he share if he embraces this moment? Could this be the beginning of a bridge built on shared experiences? And then Sarah's phone rang again, cutting through her thoughts, leaving her to wonder if the real story wasn't just about connection but perhaps something deeper yet to unravel. Sarah's heart raced as she answered the phone, her palms slightly sweaty as she brought the device to her ear. A familiar voice chimed in. "Sarah, it's Claire. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." "No, not at all," Sarah replied, her voice hardly concealing the distraction she felt. She glanced at Mr. Hargrove, still lingering in the doorway, grappling with emotions that seemed to be fighting for a place on his face. "Good. I just wanted to check in about the dinner," Claire said, her excitement bubbling through the line. "It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone to connect. Have you thought more about who you'll invite?" "Actually, we have a visitor," Sarah said, mindful of the way Mr. Hargrove shifted his weight as he anxiously registered her words. "Mr. Hargrove next door is here, and well, he might come." "Really?" Claire's voice sparked with enthusiasm. "That's amazing. I've never really talked to him. It would be wonderful to have him join." Instantly, Sarah felt the weight of her words. Wonderful? Could she truly believe that? Mr. Hargrove looked more like a man caught in a storm than someone who would feel welcomed in their cheerful chaos. As she hung up the phone, laughter bubbled from Mia and Jake, easing the tension again. But Sarah knew that beneath that laughter lay an unspoken question: could Mr. Hargrove handle it? "Sorry about that," she said, forcing a smile as she approached Mr. Hargrove. "I was just talking to a friend about the dinner." "I see." His voice was softer now, almost fragile. "You really think I don't know that I should join?" "If you want to," she said gently, tilting her head in encouragement. "But no pressure. It's all about what feels comfortable for you." Mr. Hargrove looked introspectively around the room, soaking in the warmth of the people who welcomed him as if he were a long-lost friend. Lily, with her innocent enthusiasm, shared her own story of overcoming shyness at her first birthday party. She emphasized how exhilarating it felt to connect with new friends. "I never thought I'd be here after all this time alone," he muttered, just loud enough for Sarah to catch it. "What if I don't belong?" "It's less about fitting in and more about being you," Jake added eagerly, his youthful eyes sparkling with sincere belief. "We want to hear your story. Every story matters." For a fleeting moment, Sarah thought she saw new light flicker in Mr. Hargrove's expression, a glimmer of hope fighting against years of solitude. But then, the shadows came creeping back, and for the first time, Sarah understood the depth of his hesitance. "Okay," he whispered, almost imperceptibly. "Maybe I'll think about it." "Great!" Mia cheered, her enthusiasm cutting through the lingering tension. "You have until Saturday to decide." "No pressure." As the conversation shifted back to light-hearted banter, Sarah felt a tug on her sleeve. It was Lily, who leaned in close. "Mom, do you think he's sad?" Sarah knelt beside her daughter, looking into her innocent brown eyes. "I think he's been lonely for a long time, honey. But sometimes, it just takes a little push to remind us that we are never alone in this world." With those words, a sense of urgency enveloped her. They all wanted Mr. Hargrove to join, not just for their community dinner but for a chance to welcome him into their lives. Just then, a sudden knock echoed at the door, startling everyone. It felt heavy, almost foreboding. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Who could it be now? As she approached the door, the cheerful atmosphere transformed into something thick with uncertainty. She hesitated, the weight of the unknown pulling at her. What awaited them on the other side? Was it an unexpected visitor who would enrich their lives or stir up haunting memories? Sarah took a deep breath, her hand resting on the doorknob. The knock had shattered the cheerful bubble that had enveloped the room just moments before. It felt paradoxical, like a silent warning asking her to tread carefully. She turned back to Mr. Hargrove, who stood awkwardly in the corner, uncertainty etched into every line of his face. The laughter and warmth of the room felt miles away from the man who had spent so many years hidden behind his closed door. Would he welcome whoever was on the other side? Or would this new arrival push him further away? As she swung the door open, the sight that met her sent a jolt of surprise through her. It was Mrs. Anderson, the kind elderly lady from 2 streets away. Her frail frame was slightly hunched over, but her bright blue eyes sparkled with mischief. Surprise! She beamed, holding a steaming casserole dish aloft as if it were a trophy. I brought my famous lasagna to share. Instantly, the tension lifted. Mrs. Anderson. You didn't have to. Sarah exclaimed, relief flooding her heart. Oh, but I wanted to, she said with a wink. Everyone deserves a bit of good food to bring them together, don't you think? Mia and Jake rushed forward, eager to help the charming octogenarian. Can we help you? They chimed, their youthful energy rekindling the spirit in the air. Sarah stepped aside to let Mrs. Anderson in, glancing at Mr. Hargrove. His expression was softer now, as he observed the children bustle about, helping the elderly woman navigate the living room. There was something sacred about this moment, a feeling that perhaps everyone had a role to play in the circle of their community, but Sarah couldn't shake the nagging doubt. Would it remain fragile, or would it shatter under the weight of their expectations? Let us set this right here, Mrs. Anderson said, guiding the kids as they placed the heavy dish on the dining table. She turned to Mr. Hargrove, her voice warm like the food she carried. Hello, dear. It's so lovely to finally meet you. We've been neighbors for quite a while, haven't we? Mr. Hargrove shuffled slightly, his hand brushing against the wall as if seeking stability. Yes, I suppose we have, he replied quietly, his gaze darting between the bustling children and the elderly woman. Sarah watched this interaction with bated breath. Would he retreat into the shadows, or would he take a step towards connection? Would you like to join us for dinner? Mrs. Anderson asked, her tone gentle yet insistent. I promise you won't regret it. I make a mean lasagna. You won't leave hungry, that's for sure. For a heartbeat, there was silence. The room held its breath, exchanging hopeful glances. Sarah desperately wanted Mr. Hargrove to say yes. She could already envision the laughter and stories shared around the table, a tapestry woven with threads of vulnerability and courage. I need to think about it, he finally murmured. With that, Sarah's heart sunk. But there was also something in Mr. Hargrove's hesitant smile that hinted at possibility. Take your time, Mrs. Anderson encouraged, her eyes sparkling. Just remember, every meal is better with friends, even if they're just starting to be friends. The words hung in the air, a gentle nudge pushing against the layers of isolation that surrounded Mr. Hargrove. Jake chimed in, you could even tell us a scary story, Mr. Hargrove. Those are always fun. At this, Mr. Hargrove's expression shifted. A small smile crept onto his face, a flicker of life replacing the shadows. What if I joined you just for a little while? He finally said, almost timidly. The room erupted in cheers, each voice mingling like music. As Mia and Jake rushed to set an extra place at the table, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe this dinner might become that defining moment everyone wished for, a new beginning for all. Yet, as they settled back into laughter and chatter, she couldn't help but wonder what other truths awaited them that night. Maybe the knock at the door had been a sign, saying that, in this world of connections, beginnings often come wrapped in Unexpected packages. But then, just as the evening seemed to settle into promise, a chilling cry broke through the warmth, a reminder that their pasts were never too far behind. What was lurking outside, waiting for them to discover? The dinner table was bustling with laughter, and the rich aroma of Mrs. Anderson's lasagna wafted through the air. Jake and Mia excitedly filled their plates, chatting animatedly about school, Mario Kart, and the latest superheroes. Sarah caught glimpses of Mr. Hargrove, who sat at the head, discontent with the surroundings yet visibly intrigued by the children's enthusiasm. "Look at that cheese pull. It's legendary," Mia exclaimed, her eyes wide with delight as she took a bite. Mr. Hargrove's smile broadened, and for just a moment, he seemed to forget his reservations. "Cheese is the true hero of any meal," he said softly, but it was enough to elicit a chorus of agreement from the children. That moment felt like a small victory, a crack in the armor he wore so tightly. As they savored the meal, Mrs. Anderson recounted tales of her younger days, the neighborhood when it had felt like a village, full of laughter and community. Sarah watched Mr. Hargrove lean forward in his chair, his expression shifting from guarded to curious. She could see him weighing Mrs. Anderson's words as if trying to determine if he wanted to step into her stories, or remain apart, encased in his solitude. Suddenly, the jovial atmosphere shattered like glass. A loud crash echoed from the kitchen, closely followed by the frantic scurry of paws. Charlie, the family dog, burst into the dining room, his tail wagging furiously as he pranced in with a broken flower pot hanging from his mouth. "Charlie!" Mia squealed, laughing as she chased the dog around the table. This was chaos, but it was full of joy, and Sarah could see that it pulled Mr. Hargrove from his shell even further. "You see," she said, breaking the laughter with a softer tone, "life can be unpredictable, but it's what makes it beautiful." Mr. Hargrove looked up, his blue eyes questioning. "Is that what everyone wants? To just live in chaos?" "Not chaos," Mrs. Anderson interjected, her voice gentle yet firm. "Connection. We need each other. Everything else is just the scenery." Sarah felt the weight of his gaze. There was a vulnerability there that she almost didn't recognize. The man who always seemed so stoic was now battling with the turmoil of his own heart. When Jake innocently asked, "Have you ever been to a carnival, Mr. Hargrove? Those places are crazy fun," he startled everyone, including Mr. Hargrove, who seemed to ponder the thought. "What did you do for fun as a kid?" A shadow crossed Mr. Hargrove's face, a flicker of something darker that sent a chill through Sarah. Would he share a story that might peel back layers they weren't ready for? I didn't go to many carnivals," he finally replied, his voice barely a whisper. "I was always too busy, hiding." Sarah's heart dropped. This was not the happy, light-hearted story they had hoped for. "But you're not hiding now," Mia chimed in, her spirit unwavering. "You're right here with us, Mr. Hargrove, and we're all having fun. You belong here." The room stilled for a heartbeat. Even Charlie settled at Mr. Hargrove's feet, looking up expectantly. The older man swallowed, his expression shifting. There was a flicker of something. Was it acknowledgement? Or fear? Just then, a furious knock echoed through the house, rattling the glasses on the table. The laughter died, and tension coiled back into the air like a snake preparing to strike. "Stay here," Sarah whispered, her mind racing. She didn't want Mr. Hargrove to retreat to his shell, to feel the walls closing in again. She took a steadying breath, glancing at those bright, innocent faces around her. "Who could that be?" Jake asked, suddenly tense. "I'll check it out," Sarah said, rising from her chair, but before she could, Mr. Hargrove's voice stopped her. "Wait, don't you think we should just let it pass?" His voice trembled. The knock persisted, louder this time, sending a ripple of unease through everyone. The light-hearted energy from dinner felt like a distant memory. "What's really waiting for us out there?" Sarah pondered silently, her heart thrumming with a mix of dread and anticipation. As she approached the door, she had no idea that the answer would force them all to confront deeper truths than they had ever imagined. What would stand on the other side? Fear, or a chance to finally belong? Sarah hesitated at the door, her hand hovering over the knob. Every knock grew louder, pounding against her thoughts. The tension in the air was thick, almost tangible, and she could feel the eyes of the kids on her, wide with anticipation and confusion. She wanted to reassure them, but the dread coiling in her stomach had other plans. Maybe it's just someone selling cookies, Jake suggested, but even he didn't sound convinced. Mrs. Anderson looked from Sarah to the door, then back to Mr. Hargrove, whose expression had darkened again. "We can handle this together," she coaxed, her voice steady, but it was clear that the unexpected guest unnerved her too. Taking a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself. "I'll be right back," she said softly, meeting Mr. Hargrove's anxious gaze for a moment longer than necessary. There was something raw in that look, a spark of hope battling against his instinct to withdraw. With one swift motion, she turned the knob and pulled the door open. What greeted her was unexpected. A middle-aged man, disheveled and winded, stood before her. His face was flushed, beads of sweat clung to his brow like tiny reminders of a journey that had not gone smoothly. The moment their eyes met, a flicker of recognition sparked, though Sarah couldn't place it. "Is this the Anderson residence?" he asked, his voice rough yet urgent. "Yes," she replied cautiously, taking a step back to allow him to enter. "Can I help you?" The man looked over her shoulder, his gaze landing solidly on Mr. Hargrove. I need to talk to you, Hargrove. It's important." Mr. Hargrove's expression hardened, an instinctual wall rising before him. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, fingers clenching around the edge of the table. "I don't want to discuss anything," he said, his tone clipped, but the man pressed forward, determination in his eyes. "You deserve to know the truth. About your past and what you ran from." The room felt as if it had stopped breathing. Children glanced between the two men, confusion and curiosity mingling on their faces. Sarah's heart raced. What past? What truth was the stranger wielding? "Please, just leave," Mr. Hargrove said, his voice barely above a whisper, fear etching deeper lines on his face. "Not until you understand what's at stake," the stranger countered, and there was a desperation in his voice that didn't sit right. "This is not the time," Mrs. Anderson interjected, rising from her seat. "Whatever you have to say, it can wait. This is a family gathering." The man hesitated, then glanced at the children, his gaze softening momentarily. "It may affect them too. They deserve to know." A heavy silence hung between them, thick with unspoken memories and unprocessed pain. The charming dinner atmosphere had evaporated, replaced by tension so thick it felt like a living entity wrapping itself around the room. "There's nothing they need to know," Mr. Hargrove said again, louder this time, but Sarah could hear the tremor in his voice, a crack in his armor that felt almost fatal. But Mia, sensing the storm brewing, stood up. "Is it really bad? Are you hiding something from us?" Her innocent question cut through the tension like a knife, making Mr. Hargrove flinch. "No, honey," he replied quickly, his voice urgent. "It's just complicated." "Complicated?" Mia echoed, brow furrowed as she tried to understand. The simplicity of her innocence juxtaposed against the weighty moment brought a new wave of tension, another layer to unravel. "Mr. Hargrove," Sarah spoke up, her voice steady, anchoring herself in the chaos around them, "if there's something that's been hidden from us for so long, maybe now is the time to face it." Mr. Hargrove's gaze locked onto hers, fierce and fearful and filled with conflict. The man at the door shifted, sensing that the tide was turning. Outside, the world continued unaware of the unfolding drama, but inside, a storm was about to break. Would they find the truth that could either fracture them or bind them together even stronger? As Sarah caught Mr. Hargrove's eye, she felt a surge of determination. The truth was close, ready to emerge, but would it bring healing or more fractures? A deep breath filled the room, silent but deafening. What revelations lay ahead, waiting to be unearthed? The man stood at the threshold, a storm brewing in the depths of his eyes. "You need to listen to me, Hargrove. This isn't just about you. This involves everyone here." He gestured broadly, encompassing the kids huddled together, wide-eyed and full of questions. Mr. Hargrove's hands trembled slightly as he pushed himself away from the table, the chair scraping harshly against the floor. You don't understand. It's not that simple. His voice was heavy with memories he seemed desperate to forget. Mia's brow furrowed deeper, her young mind trying to piece together the gravity of the situation. What do you mean? She pressed, her small voice breaking the tension. Kids please, Mrs. Anderson pleaded, stepping forward, her maternal instinct kicking in, you don't need to be part of this. But a flicker of curiosity passed among them, a faint bond connecting them to the looming mystery in the air. The stranger took a cautious step into the room, his presence somehow both unsettling and magnetic. I can't walk away without saying what I came to say. You have to know who you are, Hargrove. Who I am? Mr. Hargrove's voice cracked, a startling vulnerability breaking through the impenetrable shield he had crafted over the years. Sarah's heart ached for him. I know who I am. I built a life here. I'm just trying to keep it normal for these kids. I don't want to drag them through my past. But running from it doesn't make it disappear, the man challenged softly, yet with an insistence that made the air hum. Sarah stepped closer, trying to bridge the gap between the two. Look, maybe it's time. You've been managing this silence for so long, Hargrove. You can be free of it. We can face whatever this is together. Together? He echoed, the word almost a scorn. What if it shatters everything they've ever known? What if my past is a shadow they can't outrun? Jake, who had been holding his breath, finally spoke up, then we face it. Right? Isn't that what families do? The air in the room shifted slightly, a warm current of shared resolve running through them. Sarah felt the weight of his gaze as it settled on her, the question clear within that look, can I trust you? We're all here, she said boldly. We're a family. Whatever you're hiding, we can handle it. The man nodded, as if emboldened by their pledge. Hargrove, do you really think hiding will protect them? The truth is stronger than any secret. You were part of something once, something that may have looped through time and put you in this very moment. A flash of pain crossed Mr. Hargrove's face, the truth scraping against the walls he had erected. He shook his head. That was a long time ago. I thought I'd left it behind. Whatever it is, it's still a part of you, the man said, and it's about to affect them, whether you like it or not. Sarah's heart raced as she read the transitions on Mr. Hargrove's face, the rage, the fear, the sadness. Could he finally let go? She desperately hoped he would choose to share rather than silence them all. Please say something, Mia implored, her large eyes teary and pleading. We want to know the truth. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on Mr. Hargrove, the weight of his decision pressing in. Finally, he lowered his gaze, hands trembling as they rested on the table, each beat echoing through the hearts surrounding him. Okay. I'll tell you everything. But you need to promise me one thing. What? Sarah asked, hope creeping into her tone. Promise me you'll bury me with the truth. No running away when it gets hard. Sarah nodded vigorously, squeezing Mia's small hand in hers, grounding herself amid the swirling emotions. Just as he began to speak, the persistent knocking rattled again, the chaotic rhythm echoing in their minds. All eyes darted to the door, the air thick with uncertainty. Who else could that be? Mrs. Anderson whispered, gripping the edge of the table, glancing nervously at the children. Every heartbeat synchronized with the knocking, a reminder that some truths are harder to face than others. As Mr. Hargrove inhaled deeply, they all braced themselves for both revelation and interruption. What awaited them on the other side of that door? Would they find the strength to confront what lay ahead, or would secrets splinter their fragile unity? Mr. Hargrove took a shaky breath, the weight of his past pressing heavily on him. He felt the heat of the moment, the urgency thickening around them. The knocking continued, each thud a drumbeat to a truth teetering on the edge of revelation. Wait, he said, gathering himself, his voice determined yet trembling. I have to say this now. Before whatever is out there interrupts, he looked at the kids, so vulnerable but filled with fierce determination. You all have to trust me. Mia's grip on Sarah's hand tightened. Sarah could see every flicker of fear in her tiny frame, but also an unyielding strength. The others leaned in, leaning close in anticipation, all eyes on Mr. Hargrove. I grew up in a world far from this. A world filled with shadows and choices I never wanted to make. It took everything from me, my family, my heart, my peace. I thought I built a wall here, but... He paused, his voice hitching in his throat. But walls don't protect you from the storms lurking just outside. Jake was the first to speak. What storm, Mr. Hargrove? He pressed, the depth of his concern obvious. His youthful innocence mixed with the weight of too many unsaid things. Mr. Hargrove lifted his gaze, looking far beyond the walls of the small room, a flicker of something ancient and sorrowful flashing across his features. There's a reason I came here, a reason I had to hide. It's a long story, but we will get to it. You might not like it. You need to know that. As he began to piece the fragments of his past together, the knocking ceased. An eerie quiet settled around them, almost as if the air itself was holding its breath. I was part of something dangerous, he said, each word coated in layers of regret. A group that thought they could craft the future. But in trying to control the world, we lost ourselves. We brought chaos instead of peace. And it shattered my life. The memories clawed at him, and for a moment, he seemed lost in a maze of regret and confusion. Are you talking about the organization? The stranger asked, his voice steady, but something darker lingered in it. Yes, I am, Mr. Hargrove responded, his voice rising slightly. They didn't just vanish. They exist still, shadows in the corners. And it might be sending someone something after me. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. After you? But why would they come here? After all this time? The room felt smaller now, those words wrapping around them like a thick fog. Because I left, and they don't like being abandoned. Not when there are loose ends to tie up. Fear laced through Sarah's heart as she exchanged worried glances with Mia, who looked more scared than ever. So what do we do? Do we fight? Or run? Yeah. Jake chimed in, his youthful bravado rising briefly. We stand together. No one gets left behind. At that moment, the door flew open suddenly. A gust of wind swept into the room, strong and cold, knocking over chairs, making it impossible to ignore the tension twisting in the air. Everyone turned, hearts racing, not knowing what to expect. The figure standing at the doorway was obscured in shadows, an ominous presence that commanded immediate attention. Is this what you wanted, Hargrove? The figure said, the voice low and threatening, dripping with secrets. Panic surged as they all instinctively stepped back, but Mr. Hargrove stood frozen, the shadow bringing forth the weight of long-buried fears and unfinished business. Mia whispered, "Who is that?" Hargrove clenched his jaw, the ghosts of his past flooding back in flashes. "I didn't want your lives to be tangled in this," he said, the haunting regret in his voice making it clear to everyone in the room whatever storm was brewing was no longer just his alone. "What the hell is going on?" The stranger, all too aware of who had arrived, stepped forward, bristling with urgency. Both dread and adrenaline coursed through them. They faced the unknown together. Would they endure the storm Hargrove had brought back into their lives, or would the truth shatter this fragile bond they had forged? The room waited, frozen, as the complete truth threatened to unfold. What faced them now could change everything they believed about family, loyalty, and the past. And as the figure advanced, they braced themselves for an unfolding saga that could either unite them or pull them apart forever. Who were they really up against? The tension in the room reached a fever pitch, every heartbeat echoing like drumbeats in anticipation of what was to come. The shadows shifted as the figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, one that made Sarah's heart drop. It was Tom, Hargrove's old associate. The man who was once a ghost from the past, now a real threat standing at their threshold. "Tom," Mr. Hargrove breathed, the name escaping his lips like a whisper of dread. what are you doing here? Thought I'd pay you a visit, Tom smirked, glancing at the family gathered around the table. Seems you've built quite a cozy life for yourself, Hargrove. Shame if anything were to happen to it. Sarah felt a rush of protectiveness wash over her. Get out, she demanded, stepping forward, shielding her children. The warmth of the home they had built together felt fragile, like a bubble on the brink of bursting. Tom's eyes flicked to her, amusement flickering in their depths. And you think you can stop me? This isn't just about you. It's about him. He pointed a finger at Mr. Hargrove, who stood, muscles taut, staring into a past he couldn't escape. What do you want? Hargrove's voice wavered but remained firm, rooted in a desire to protect the family that had started to heal him. Closure, Tom replied grimly. You think you can just walk away? No loose ends means no one gets left behind, and you know that better than anyone. The air was electric with unspoken fears and buried secrets. Jake's voice broke the silence. You're not going to hurt anyone, are you? Tom chuckled darkly. Kids really shouldn't play in grown-up business, but I admire your courage. He cast a quick glance to Sarah. And you? You think you can fight against what you don't understand? That's enough. Sarah shouted, determination igniting in her chest. This is our home. You have no right to threaten us here. Every instinct screamed to protect her family, to fortify the bond that had grown so delicately in the past weeks. I'd advise you to step aside, ma'am, Tom replied, his voice low and menacing. This doesn't have to end with anyone getting hurt, but I'm not the kind of man who deals in uneasiness. Suddenly, in an unexpected turn, Mia stepped forward, her tiny frame dwarfed by the looming threat. You're wrong, she said fiercely, her voice shaking but filled with fierce conviction. You don't get to scare us. We belong together, and we won't let you break our family. Those words hung in the air, a declaration of bravery that sliced through the tension like a beacon. Everyone turned to look at the young girl, and Sarah felt a swell of pride mix with confusion. How had this child's innocent strength become the fulcrum upon which they all balanced? Out of the mouths of babes, huh? Tom sneered, but Sarah could see a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Tom, this isn't the way, Hargrove said, taking a tentative step forward. There's nothing for you here. You came because you felt unfinished, but I've moved on. I don't want this life. It's not worth tearing apart a family. The way he spoke made it clear how deep the past had marred him, yet here he was trying to reclaim his future. Tom flinched, and Sarah seized the moment. We are stronger than your threats. We are a family now, and that means all of us, even Mr. Hargrove. The declaration sent ripples through the air. Family means standing together, even against shadows that loom. Tom took a step back, undeniably taken aback by the resolve radiating from their small gathering. You think you can keep him safe? That you can draw a line and expect me not to cross it? Yes. Hargrove found his own voice, steeling himself against the storm. You might be part of my past, but you do not own my future. You've tried to control me for too long. I am not your puppet anymore. Not to protect you and no longer at the expense of those I care about. The strength in his words ignited a new courage in Sarah and her children. They all stood together, shoulder to shoulder, like a solid wall of conviction and support. We've fought too hard to nurture this bond, no threats will break it, Sarah declared. The silence that followed was thick, like the calm before a storm. Tom seemed to weigh their words, and then he let out a low laugh. All right, Hargrove. Enjoy your little family, but be careful. Shadows always find a way to creep back. I'll be watching. Just like that, he stepped back into the shadows and disappeared from sight, leaving behind a lingering chill. The moment stretched into eternity, a snapshot of vulnerability caught amid resolve. As the door shut softly behind him, the room sighed, bursting with the emotion that had been pent up. Are you okay? Sarah asked, reaching out to Hargrove. I am, he replied, though his voice trembled. Maybe for the first time, I'm beginning to understand that I have people who care. I've always felt like an outsider, but not anymore. Every member of this new family felt the weight of that truth, a shared understanding that they belonged not just to their past, but to one another. They had faced the storm and come out united. The smile broke across Mia's face, bright with innocence and determination. I told you. You belong here. In that moment, Sarah realized the journey wasn't just about Mr. Hargrove. It was about all of them, about facing their fears and forging familial bonds stronger than any hidden past. The dinner table became a sacred space not only filled with laughter and joy but also resilience and empowerment. As Sarah gathered the kids close, her heart swelled with hope. Sometimes the hardest truths draw you closer than any perfect moment ever could. They were a family not just for the incidents of that night, but for all the tomorrows waiting for them ahead, and as she looked around at the faces of her loved ones, she finally understood, every knock on the door was not just a shadow waiting to invade, but an opportunity to redefine what belonging truly meant. Together, they could face anything, together they were always stronger, and in that spirit, they would build their table to welcome in every soul searching for a place to belong. Now it's your turn to stand with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm, a small act that makes a huge difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. We want to hear from you, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's spread the love.